Hey guys, Arm&Gun here. Today we're going to do a quick disassembly and reassembly of the Valmet M78. This one's chambered in 7.62 by 39. Basically all the Valmet pattern rifles are going to disassemble in the same way, and it's going to be very identical to a Galil or an AK. So it's got a slightly extended, the top cover does fit quite a bit more snug. So that's a little bit, probably the trickiest part of the whole thing is getting that on and off. I guess before we do any of that, pop up the mag, prove the rifle clear. Pop off the dust cover, and you'll notice this dust cover actually has an injection port buffer on them. This is just a pop on pop off part. I'm not sure if this is common with lots of AKs. AKs aren't popular in Canada here because they've been banned for 25 years, but so I'm not sure if this is a common part in other things or not, but one of my Valmets came with this, and I tend to shoot this one the most, so I just popped this one on here for now. Also popped on an AK buffer for the recoil, just to, again, to be, as I do shoot this one, very little. We're talking like, I might have had this gun for 2.5 years now and put 100 rounds through it. So very light, but compared to my other Valmets, this one gets shot the most. So I just have a recoil buffer on there as well. So again, this just slips out of that dovetail. This is your recoil spring, guide rod, pops right out, and again, that's that buffer. Then your carrier and your gas tube here now is loose. There's no pressure on it. That's just held in place by the spring as well. They'll kind of come out together because they are more snug fit. These guns were just built tighter tolerances and tighter spec to improve the accuracy. So I haven't cleaned this one since I shot it 20 rounds through yesterday, so that was not much for shooting, but I usually clean these right afterwards. Okay, so here we go. This is your carrier and tube assembly. See where the piston is. As soon as the piston comes past here, there's all these vent holes to vent out excess pressure. To try and not to overgas them as much. Your front or rear sight is attached to this. This one's a little sticky for some reason. But again, it's zeroed from 1 to 500 meters. 2 dots corresponding with the front dot. I've explained all this in a main overview video of the M78 itself, so I won't get into any more detail on that stuff. Otherwise, guys, this is very indicative of a typical AK carrier. This is the main change right here. These pistons, the piston has these grooves up in here, which are meant to guide the piston smoothly down the gas tube, and you can actually see those little ridges kind of worn in there, which is kind of neat. And that just helps guide it down, reduce that slop. This thing isn't popping around all over the place. It's going to help it lock up more consistently and improve your accuracy. Or at least that was their idea of it. So the bolt pops right out. I don't believe this is a standard AK bolt. I haven't compared it. Again, as AKs are not common up here, not really accessible, I don't really have a lot to play on, but it should be at least very similar. So that's basically it for that. That's it for this carrier. It's a fully disassembled rifle, guys. You can see inside real quick. I believe it is just a standard AK trigger. No, I shouldn't say that either. There were some proprietary parts with these guns, so I shouldn't, without knowing for sure, I don't really want to comment. It just slides right back together. Partially piece this together. This, real quick here, there are some grooves, as you can see right here. Those grooves in the gas tube line up with these grooves in here, just to give it an overall tighter fit, and then the front fits around that little rim right there. This is the trickiest part of the whole, well, I should say it's a little bit of finessing. These definitely aren't as field strip friendly as a traditional AK, because you're not worrying about this removable gas tube and this generally more tight fitting system. So that just goes in there. It's always a little bit of resistance when it's passing over the hammer. That's all together. Just make sure this is all lined up nice. The grooves are in. Pop your recoil spring and guide rod back in. Slips right in. Top cover. You line it up in these little grooves you can see in there. They are, again, quite tight. It's kind of like a Galil putting this thing back together. It is a little more finicky. especially with that tight fitting top cover. There we go. That's it, guys. She's back together. Real quickly, I'll just demonstrate the trigger as well. It's definitely pretty remarkable. There's definitely that creep that you kind of pull out first, and then it's brakes, minimal over travel, and then a reset, very noticeable. So I'm not really sure what most AK triggers are like. Again, I haven't experienced the standard AK, but for this thing, I think it's comparatively to rifles at the time, especially military pattern rifles at the time, I consider this to have quite a nice trigger. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. I'm going to talk about some more models of these as well, in 223 and 308. So stay tuned for those. Thanks so much.